Welcome to Expert Channel TV, and this is mysterious guest, not so mysterious any longer, Kirsch Mackey, who is an online course creator, and he's also an electrical engineer and a student of data science, right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay, so the way we met was kind of an online digging out of the blue, or like you were searching for something and then you came across my gamification theory, right? And then
I
we
sure did.
connected, and now here we are. So tell us about what kind of courses do you create, because it is something that a lot of the people benefit from, but very few people create courses, or it's not a fashionable topic, right?
No, it's not that fashionable, course creation.
Okay, so what is it? What is your topic of course creation?
So my topic is how to use engineering software for electrical engineers. And I have started that journey with the software called OrCAD or Allegro. And it is a circuit design software that electronics engineers use to make devices that we use today, like the iPhone, and generally our computers and chips that go into cars. The industry-leading software, one of the industry-leading softwares is OrCAD and Allegro. I teach that software.
Why did you start creating courses?
I started creating courses because I wanted to, well, first of all, I enjoy teaching. I just love it. And the reason I enjoy it is because it can help people increase their skill and get more time added to their day. The more skills you have, the more you can do more quickly. So I wanted to teach people and help them fulfill their potential, because that's a dream for myself and for others as well. And I just realized that I'm good at teaching technical material in ways that people understand. So I feel it's a responsibility of mine to teach, and online courses seem like a great way to do that, because I wouldn't have to always be there or always be in person, and people could always review the same content to refresh their mind through repetition. That's why.
Awesome. Awesome. I truly believe that we make a disservice to the world if we don't give away our obvious. And for you, the obvious is to teach those programs, right? So
Yes,
I
that is
like,
exactly right.
yeah. Okay. What was the first course that you created, and what kind of strategy did you use then? And then we build up to how many more courses and how many more strategies do you have?
Okay. So the first course I created is called OrCAD Tutorial for Beginners. And the strategy I had for that is the same strategy I used when I was teaching OrCAD and Allegro for 3 years at my university. That's the University of Arkansas. And so the strategy I used was a combination of project-based work and um, general concepts of why. Why do we want to do something? What is the need that's being met? First of all, the why and the need that's being met. Why do we want to draw something? Why do we use an electronic software to do it? Why not by hand? And once the why is there and the need is there, then I introduce a solution to the why or the problem. So that's step one. And the reason for that is to fulfill the purpose, because I felt that if this, I know I've observed that if the students saw that they were doing something, they would always ask, why are we doing this? Why does it matter? Why is it important? And they'd get bored. So I said, first, let's create a purpose for why it matters. Two, why is it relevant and how can it benefit you? This little module or this little skill, this little feature I'm teaching you, why is it important? I always enforce that. And then lastly, I make a project that can do something, like make them do a board, design a board that can actually do something and meet a need, the overall why, which is giving a client something that works. So those three strategies I use, I try to weave into every lecture, and overall the course. That is the basic strategy, really.
Awesome. You know that you cracked the first secret to motivation, because once your students understand why they have to do what they have to do, that feels either scary or unknown or whatever negative feeling it can bring up, then it helps them to move on. So if you know that you have to go to the dentist to get your tooth filled, then you know that that's the amount of uneasiness that you have to tackle, but then you are not having toothache, at least with that tooth again, right? So this is how you go over and over. Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you host that course, or where do you still host that course? And okay, I have background information. So why do you choose, or how do you choose which course to host where? Because you have multiple courses on multiple platforms, right?
That's correct.
So how do you decide which course do you host where, if there is a strategy behind it or any thought process that goes into it?
Well, yes, and the strategy, well, firstly, the first question, where do I host the courses? Well, one, I started on udemy.com because I fell in love with learning courses on Udemy. It's like the teacher was right there showing me the step-by-step approach, and not the, hey, this is the general thing you do approach, like get into the details. So I started putting my first course on Udemy. Then eventually I put another copy of the course on simplive.com, and I can give you a link to that later. And then let's see, also on thinkific.com. And then finally, I decided to make my own website, learnorcadonline.com. Those are the four places I have my courses.
We are going to put all the links below.
Yes, I'll have the links below. And the strategy for that is, well, these different websites have different types of expectations attached to them. At Udemy, over the past few years, I would say 8 years or so, courses would go from being not too great to now you get really, really well done, high quality courses, but it's a marketplace where people wait for the sale, and there's a sale every time. And you deliver a lot of high value content for very little, like at a super deep discount. I'm talking about $12, $18. And the strategy for that would be to put, yes, your big course on there, but if you do want to get more revenue or income from the course, you would want to put the more robust version of the course with some perks, some coaching, or any extras on a platform that doesn't use a deep sale sort of strategy, just to get a little bit more money for the course, you know, especially if it has a lot of value, right? So that's the strategy. I put the beefier version of the course on my own website, and for platforms that aren't always doing sales, and I put the same course but with less of the perks on Udemy.
Awesome. I was just nodding because yes, if you want to get a course idea validated, you create the first version, you put it on Udemy, and you don't need to beta test it anywhere else. Udemy does the promotional part and the validation part because you get all the feedback that you need from your specific target kind of audience. And that's awesome. That's awesome. If you want to build an online course business eventually, right? But then you want to then you want to drive traffic, so pull student towards you, because it's like a big enormous university campus. Everybody's just buzzing around on Udemy, but you want to get a targeted attention of your students, right? That is how they can get from zero to hero, so to say, in your niche or in your industry or the topic that you teach. And yes, you want to make money out of it. Eventually, we use, in my belief system, we price courses because we want to get an exchange of equal opportunities, efforts, and time, right? So this is why we don't just share everything with the world always. And a lot of the times people tend to value the same piece of information on a higher price point much more than the same piece of information on a lower price point, right?
Yes, that is true. I've learned, and from personal experience, the more I invest in a course, the more I'm personally invested in the course. So the more it costs and I pay that, I said, hey, I'm not going to let what I paid go to waste, and I'm going to make this work. Otherwise, I'm just throwing that amount of money down the drain. But if it's free, I haven't invested much into it, then I might get back to it eventually sometime. It's no big loss. And I like the point you made earlier. I was definitely afraid of launching my first course on Udemy. I was wondering, ooh, what are people going to say? Like, how's it going to be? Is this bad? And then the response was overwhelmingly great. I look at the course now, and there are things that I wish I could add this, I can add that, and there's so many things I can do. But the response has been very supportive and really helped me validate some things in my head and to get feedback on how to make the course better. It's like a beta test almost. And Udemy is a great platform for that. I'm so thankful for Udemy for opening that up.
Just to put it in another context, you had been teaching the same thing for 3 years at a university to a very targeted group of students who really wanted to learn it. And you still say that you were scared or afraid or overwhelmed, what the reaction to that might be, right? Whereas the course idea had already been validated for 3 years already.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because I said to myself, okay, if I can somehow market this to the students I've been teaching to, then it should be fine. And then about 6 months later, I didn't even know or realize that the people who are watching the course are actually seasoned hardware design engineers who just needed to learn the software tool. And that just blew my mind. I thought students would be interested in it, but it seemed that not only university students, but more so like professional engineers are learning from the course.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, what would be one piece of advice that could have come in handy when you started and you've realized it later on, and you would give it to any course creators or wannabe course creators?
Wow, that's a very good question. There's so much that goes into that. I would say just to get started, and I know that is, how do I say? I know that is something that people might hear a lot because you don't want to put something out there that makes you look bad. It's the fear that, well, this is the first impression that I give, then I'm going to look bad. But if there's some structure to what you're doing and you're teaching something that you know how to do, you don't have to be the industry expert. You don't have to have 20 years of experience. What you need to have is a skill that you learned that helped you do something, and and it helps somebody who doesn't know how to do that thing yet. If it took you 20 weeks, if it took you 5 years, produce it and get it out there. And well, make sure it's at least decent, it's coherent, that the audio is good in the course. But just get started. You're already qualified. If you have a skill, you can help people. Put it out there. Let the feedback do the figuring out for you.
Best advice ever. Action brings clarity, that's for sure. Kirsch, thank you very much for being here with us. We are going to drop all the course links down below. And should you have any questions, then leave them also below, because we are gonna get back to it, right?
Yes, absolutely. All right. Yeah, I'll be sure to leave the links down below.
Okay. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Okay. You too. Thank you.